If you thought it could not get worse after the loss to the Colts in NFL Week 1, well, you must not be new here to the Dolphins organization because the hits keep on coming, especially on the injury front. We have 5 players that we got to talk about in terms of their injury status going forward, and I really do not believe any of these players received a positive update. The 5 players we were referring to are 2 on the offensive line. You're starting right guard and right tackle, James Daniels and Austin Jackson, and then defensive back Storm Duck, as well as Benito Jones and Darren Waller. These are the 5 players that we have injury updates on. We'll get into each one specifically here in a second. But make sure you are subscribed. We aren't going anywhere even after a tough week 1. And if you want daily coverage of the Dolphins, this is the place for you. Let's get to 74K before week 2 against the Patriots. Join the channel, 500 subs away. All right, the James Daniels injury is not great, but it's not season-ending. Mike McDaniel already ruled him out this week against the Patriots in week 2. And if we're going to be honest, it's a week-to-week injury, short week the following week on Thursday Night Football against the Bills. It's very likely that James Daniels is not going to be here for week 2 and week 3, but maybe there's a chance he returns at home in week 4 against the Jets. He left the game in the first quarter with a pec injury, which is interesting because he was questionable coming into this game with an ankle injury. So he suffers an injury not even closely related to the one he was already dealing with. And it's obviously not great for Miami. Now, it is certainly not the worst. Like, I'm not going to say if you scale from bad news to worst news ever, 1 to 10, it's probably at a 5 because he's still out multiple weeks. But this could have been a season ending. Like a torn pec, which who knows could come in later with a torn pec, that would be out for the year. But your replacement will be Kion Smith, who actually stepped in and played for James Daniels at right guard after he was hurt. And, well, James Daniels only played about 3 snaps, folks, because Kion Smith played 44 snaps, which was the second most, or I guess tied for 4th, technically, most snaps from an offensive lineman for the Dolphins. And even though the PFF grades aren't great, 52 overall, 59.6 pass block, in the 40s of run blocking. He wasn't penalized once, and in the pass protection area, he only allowed 1 pressure. Like, if I'll be honest, I think PFF was a little bit more harsh on Kion Smith than they needed to be. Mike McDaniel even talked about it in the press conference in terms of how he thought Kion Smith relieved James Daniels. He said there was a lot of positives, but definitely a lot of area for improvement. I'm not going to sit up here and act like Kion Smith was perfect. He certainly was not. But he's low on the list of current issues with the Miami Dolphins. And there are a long list of issues that we got to talk about. But if I'm looking at the list and I'm thinking Kion Smith's play at right guard replacing James Daniels, it's just very low. Like, I don't think he was the reason why Miami's offense struggled whatsoever. It's more or less the QB play and play calling as a whole, which we'll certainly get to throughout today's video and tomorrow's video as well. Another issue on the O-line, though. Right tackle Austin Jackson left this game late in the second half, and he is still under evaluation. Mike McDaniel provided no update on his timeline and is currently undergoing more tests. They're bringing in more people for opinions. What is the injury, you ask? Well, the Dolphins' social media account said that he left with a toe injury and was questionable to return. Now, if you remember, Austin Jackson missed the entire preseason and about 3.5 weeks of training camp and joint practices with that same toe injury. So I am assuming, until I am told otherwise, it is the same exact toe injury for Austin Jackson. That is not good if it plagued him to be out 3 weeks already. He comes back and he gets hurt once again in week 1. That tells me this is going to either be a reoccurring issue or he is going to have to be shut down to let it fully heal. That is not good at all. More on the O-line coming up in a second. But with your starting right guard and right tackle already being hurt and missing probably multiple weeks, let me know your concern level on the Dolphins O-line. Pin comment, scale of 1 to 10. Well, I'm already at a 9.3. I mean, I'm not at a full tilt, like max concern level, but I'm pretty much right there, man. Because what was the biggest issue for the Dolphins this entire preseason and training camp? It was either the lackluster cornerback play or the terrible O-line play on the second and third units. And we already have to see some of these players on the football field right away. Like James Daniels and Austin Jackson, the two veterans protecting Tua's blind side that you were going to rely on a ton this year, already out. And your four depth pieces of Larry Borom, Brunskill, Kendall Lamb, and Kion Smith are being tested right away because Andrew Meyer is on IR, not eligible to return until week 5, and Liam Eichenberg is still on the PUP, not eligible to return until week 5. Like, it really is hard to fathom. And I don't know if it is just terrible injury luck, the strength and conditioning coaches, or the Dolphins investing into injury-prone players. But I really can't believe that we are in week 2 of the NFL season, and we are already onto our backup right guard and likely backup right tackle. Like, Larry Borom and Kion Smith are the two people protecting the Dolphins' QB1, Tua Tagovailoa's blind side. We are not in a good spot, and my goodness, we're not even halfway through the first month of the season. It's really hard to comprehend. Who's got it worse than us? No one. Moving over to the defense, Storm Duck, the CB1 coming into the year, which is even crazy to say that was a real thing. He is out multiple weeks with an ankle injury. Not ideal. And it's never great to see your CB1 hurt, but this also does allow me to spin this conversation into how bad he played. He was absolutely abysmal against the Colts in week 1, and he looked like a player that was a second-year UDFA. There's a reason why he didn't get drafted. And although he's had an okay training camp, and he was okay in the final month of the year last season, granted, playing against really bad teams, a bad Niner team, the Cleveland Browns who didn't know how to throw the football, the Jets at the end of the year. Like, they played bad teams at the end of the year. So I think Storm Duck's numbers being a little bit good maybe was misleading in the final month of the year because he was getting the business by the Colts. When defending Tyler Warren, the rookie tight end, 2 for 2 for 27 yards. Adonai Mitchell, 1 for 118 yards. Michael Pittman Jr., blown coverage. He thought he had safety help. Safety took the in route, like the vertical route over the middle of the field. Michael Pittman just beat Storm Duck. Duck didn't get deep enough on his own 27-yard touchdown. Did have an incomplete pass when Alec Pierce was targeted, but just absolutely abysmal. 4 for 5, about 80 yards, and a touchdown given up. When he was targeted by Daniel Jones yesterday, he had a QB rating of 158.3. If you were not aware, that is the highest QB rating you could possibly have. So when Daniel Jones targeted Storm Duck, he was perfect as a QB passer. I don't think there's much else to say about that, guys. Like, he's hurt. It's a bummer because the depth is getting tested early in the season, but it's not like I would have been thrilled about him trotting out there next week as the starter. Not saying it's a good thing he got hurt. Just saying how bad he was, because it was bad. More coming up here in a second, but get started with Prize Picks today, the daily fantasy sports app and platform I'm on every day, and I make decisions every day. You do too, and with the right decisions, you can get paid on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. It's so simple to play. You just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. You get your picks right, you could still cash in. Prize Picks actually offers injury reboots. If one of your players leaves the game in the first half and doesn't return, Prize Picks won't count it as a loss. Speaking of losses, I had one in Sunday's Dolphins Colts Prize Picks entry. So I'm already moving to the next week, turning the page, and looking on to week 2. More than Terry McLaurin touchdowns. I think he reaches pay dirt against the Green Bay Packers on Thursday Night Football, and take advantage of the discounted stat total on this upcoming week 2 game between the Eagles-Chiefs. More than half a yard, Travis Kelce. 2-player entry right there. Join me and the millions of others on Prize Picks. Download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That is code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. As we go back to the cornerback room, here is where we stand right now. Ethan Bonner is still banged up with that hamstring injury. He was inactive on Sunday. So your only active corners were Duck, Rasul Douglas, Juju Brents, Jack Jones, and Jason Marshall Jr. But now you take Storm Duck off of that list. Are you going to now have Douglas, Brents, Jones, and Marshall Jr. active and only stay 4? Because I doubt Ethan Bonner will be ready this Sunday. Maybe he ramps up and is ready to go, but I don't feel as if he will be. So who replaces Storm Duck as the starting boundary corner that he's out multiple weeks? At least we'll have to play against the Patriots and Bills. Well, you'd have to imagine Rasul Douglas, the veteran, is going to be the first one called, considering that when Duck got hurt in the first half on Sunday, Rasul Douglas was the player that filled his shoes. But I'll mention it right now. I would not see or hate seeing what the third-year corner out of Kansas State, Juju Brents, has to offer. The player that the Dolphins claimed following roster cutdown day after the Colts moved on from him. This is a 6'3", 205-pound corner that has great physicality, great length, very agile, good explosiveness. Like, is it a bad thing to want to see what he can bring to the table? I don't think so. There's a world where we could see Douglas, Brents, and Jack Jones in the nickel, maybe? Like, I don't know. Jason Marshall Jr. wasn't very good on Sunday. Listen, nobody on the defense was good Sunday. There's no sugarcoating that. The point is, I think Douglas probably gets the call this Sunday because he's the veteran. But if it goes poorly again for the Dolphins secondary, Juju Brents needs to get some playing time ASAP. Moving to the defensive line, Benito Jones left the game in the second half, or maybe late first half. I forget exactly. He is week to week with an oblique injury. Now, Mike McDaniel said that he is not going to rule out Benito Jones for this Sunday against New England, but it is more likely than not he is inactive if you are asking me, which means we are going to likely see a lot of Kenneth Grant, and we did see a lot of Kenneth Grant on Sunday. The rookie, who Miami took in the first round, 13th overall out of Michigan. He played a ton for Miami. Actually got the second most defensive line snaps on this defense. When you look at who got what amount of snaps in this week 1 game, Zach Sealer obviously led the way with 54 snaps, but then you had 2 rookies in Grant and Phillips, the first and fifth rounders, get 44 and 33 snaps respectively. Zeke Biggers, the 7th rounder out of Georgia Tech, was inactive in this game, will likely be active if Benito Jones is unable to go. You saw Matthew Butler get a lot of snaps as well, and Butler's alignment was weird. You saw him actually play D-end at times, which we never really saw that much of in the preseason. Just very curious about the alignment and honestly roles on this Dolphins defense in week 1. I feel as if Anthony Weaver tried to get maybe too cute at times with dialing up exotic blitzes, dropping some players in coverage like Jalen Phillips, like Chop Robinson, Bradley Chubb. It's like, dude, let the big dogs eat. You could do it once in a while, but this pass rush was struggling. Let these guys pin their ears back and get after Daniel Jones a little bit. But the point is, actually, it wasn't really that good of a debut for the Rooks. I mean, I mentioned a second ago, not one player, in my opinion, played well defensively for the Miami Dolphins. I think that's fair to say when the Colts scored on all 7 possessions they had. Now, the Dolphins defense did get 1 stop, but then Matthew Judon ran into the punter, giving the Colts a first down. I mean, the punter never had a real, noted punt, technically. Like, that, if you don't force a legit punt, your team did not play well defensively. Moving on to the final injury update. This one's on the tight end, Darren Waller. Mike McDaniel asked about if he's going to be ready to go for week 2. He did not guarantee he is going to be active for this Sunday's game against the New England Patriots. This is exactly what Mike McDaniel said when he was asked. He said, Waller's trying to play as best as he can this upcoming Sunday, and if he can't, we'll try to play him week 3, Thursday Night Football at Buffalo. I just can't, man. I mean, hey, listen, Darren Waller's not going to change anything for Miami, if we're going to be honest. But the point is, this guy is just probably... If I had to bet if he plays football for the Dolphins at any point this year or not, I would lean that he probably retires again before he plays for Miami. And I'm being serious. I don't have sources. I don't project that. But it's just me being a pessimistic Dolphins guy right now. That is really it is. All right, we'll close out the show with this. No other injuries as of now, which is a good thing. Hopefully no other injuries pop up during practice this week, getting ready for week 2. I know some people were concerned on social media that Tua might have gotten concussed in this game, but it wouldn't show up in his body until the next day, which can happen. Charvarius Ward, the corner for Indianapolis, wasn't in concussion protocol yesterday after the game. They placed him in concussion protocol this morning because he woke up feeling sick. So that's possible. That didn't happen with Tua. Everybody else, other than the 5 players we just mentioned or players that have already had an injury, are good to go. So no major injury for Jalen Waddle, who left the game for a little bit and then returned. If you want more Dolphins updates every day, it's a channel for you. We'll be here all week long getting you ready for week 2 against New England and be live on Sunday. So subscribe and join us this week.